Good evening and welcome to Weekend News. Coming up in this edition, President Ernest Bai Koroma meets with international observers ahead of a presidential runoff. European Union Election Observer Mission deploys 34 short-term observers across Sierra Leone ahead of the presidential runoff election. Presidential candidate of the Sierra Leone People's Party, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, says nothing should stop the presidential runoff from taking place on the 27th of March. And President of the Sierra Leone Indigenous Traditional Healers Union calls on the two main political parties to encourage their supporters to stay out of violence. All the stories and more lined up in this edition of Weekend News with me, Shola Bello. Welcome back. The European Union Election Observer Mission has deployed 34 short-term observers across Sierra Leone ahead of the presidential runoff election. This was made known at a press conference which took place at the Radisson Blu Hotel in Freetown. Jean Lambert is the EU chief observer.
People of Sierra Leone want to cast their vote for the candidate of their choice in a peaceful and safe election, free from intimidation. And we would like to call on all political parties, their leaders, supporters, together with the government and the police, to ensure that this can happen and that there will be a peaceful, democratic transfer of power through the ballot box from the outgoing to the incoming president. And the two candidates for the presidency bear the responsibility of conducting themselves in a manner befitting the honour of that role. Election day is a special day in any country, and in Sierra Leone, all citizens, whether from north, south, east or west, have votes of equal value and will together elect their next president, who will represent the whole nation. The constitutional responsibility to conduct the elections sits with the NEC. It's already had to overcome many challenges in the run-up to this year's elections. And Sierra Leone's civil society reminded us yesterday that they had considered the elections of March the 7th to be largely credible and peaceful. The international observer missions, including the European Union, also found that. We said that voters were able to exercise their democratic rights peacefully. So we trust that the NEC will be able to continue to fulfill its responsibilities under the law, supported by the police, so that the will of the people to elect their new president will be upheld as soon as possible. The EU is ready to honour our commitment to that electoral process. Today, we're deploying 34 short-term observers across all 16 districts of Sierra Leone. They'll join the 28 long-term observers who've been following the electoral process since the beginning of the campaign. And of course, on election day, we add local observers as well. But it's important to remember, I think, that under our methodology, we observe not only election day itself and the follow-up to election day, but other factors on the ground that can influence whether people can freely vote for the candidate of their choice. And that's what our observers will be doing throughout the country. So we wish them a very productive stay with the people of Sierra Leone. They've already had a very warm welcome in their first short-term observation, and we hope that will be the case for this week. Thank you.
presidential candidate of the Sierra Leone's People's Party, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, has said that nothing should stop the presidential runoff from taking place on the scheduled date, which is March 27th. Retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio made the statement during a press conference organized at the Radisson Blu Hotel, Aberdeen. Halmosire has more.
People's Party, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, noted the spate of unprecedented development that has emerged and indicates a very serious and deepening political and constitutional crisis that will seriously mar that credibility of the elections and gravely affect peace and security of the country. Retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio highlighted that these developments will alter dismay and apprehension not only for peace and stability of the country, but also for the threat they pose to the maintenance of peace and security of the West African sub-region as a whole. The SLPP presidential candidate also informed journalists about two very disturbing developments that are worthy of note.
Definitely, we are going to evaluate the situation as it unfolds. We are looking at different options and everything that we can do to make sure we protect and maintain peace, stability, and above all democracy in this country. We win as a nation. I will not be talking to APC, just SLPP. There are good people in the APC, and I know that they have appealed to President Nkrumah, but he continues to listen to the other part of his party who wants the election not to hold on the 27th of March. We have a judiciary that has continuously disappointed us, and we are not going to, we know what is happening. We know that this is a calculated effort by the All People's Congress to really derail this democratic election, this election that is underway. And for me, it's a shame. We have all invested in this process, and we are enjoying the benefit of it. President Ahmed Jankaba, so the SLPP did just that in 2007. I am particularly appealing to President Nkrumah to make sure that he does not stand in the way of this process.
The national campaign chairman of the Sierra Leone People's Party, Dr. Ali Kaba, called on supporters to continue to maintain peace and stability in their communities and also prepare for the runoff election. In Kwedu City, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio also addressed SLPP supporters on a cross-section of Coalition for Change supporters at the SLPP office as he called on them to be vigilant and vote for him during the runoff. Maada Bio commended them for their support during the first phase of the elections.
If we want change, change for the better. We get for good SLPP. Today, not to play strong. Cannot account for them and say, as they count entirely on this district for this the change. And also when I do one. And I short say when I do one. I want to appeal to all the one that work in the NGC, we vote for NGC, the one that all we vote for C for C, to come back home and vote for the
The constituency 030 chair lady of the Sierra Leone People's Party, Matability, informed party stalwarts that since the announcement of the result by NEC for the runoff, she has encouraged many supporters of the C4C to vote for Maada Bio. And the C4C supporters who attended the meeting during the visit of the SLPP presidential candidate in Kwedu City had this to say.
That will grab the Pasmagwe Maada Bio don't come because we say no get for can, Naoma no more get for can. People begin to side comment and say that man no get for can, Naoma get for can. Grab the way the man don't come. We SLPP, C4C, NDC, we all on one way. That will do for Maada Bio, yeah.
Of course, like me now so na C4C I be vote for.
Okay.
But now I don't look and feel say we need for vote SLPP in because they say cannot people there na full man then. But we they tell APC party say we not to fool them. Then drive with brother, then humiliate them, then push them. Now email them carry with the money, we hold them, we eat them. Then we show them say we not to full man them. Now email call don't say we they support Julius Brigadier Maada Bio. We ready for support and today and forever. And we know say C4C, NGC, SLPP inside Konoya, we ready for support Julius Brigadier Mada Bio.
I know they vote for Mada because me I'm a man. And they vote for Mada because of in determination we get for the country. And the man we meet us in handworks them. You understand? Like give it right now this country. People and they argue for democracy. He's the grandfather of democracy. And I they give power because now in the only soldier man in the world where I see the whole power he give back civilian because he love in country. So if he come back say we would give because if we don't prove what we want, we want peace in this country, then Mada don't create that peace for we. So we they give back the power.
SABC TV News are in Freetown. Our Mosiri reporting.
A coalition of over 20 civil society organizations has frowned on the High Court's decision to put the electoral process on hold. The decision, according to the coalition of civil society organizations, will negatively affect the operations of the National Electoral Commission and also undermine the country's hard-earned democratic credentials. The coalition made this position at an emergency press conference held at the Atlantic Hall, Lumley. Princess Gibson was there.
This coalition of civil society groups is disturbed that very close to the polls, the High Court has put a hold on the electoral process. This, according to one of the coalition partners, will frustrate the vast majority of citizens that have sacrificed a lot during the electoral process.
Civil society is particularly concerned that at this time of distribution of elections material, just 2 days to the polls, the High Court has decided to put our electoral process on hold. This decision will not only frustrate the vast majority of citizens who have already sacrificed a lot during this process, but negatively affect the operations of NEC and in the end undermine our hard-earned democratic credentials.
Sierra Leoneans, according to the coalition, are reminded about the role of the judiciary played in the country's recent history, as highlighted in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
In the wake of this disturbing decision, civil society notes that Sierra Leoneans around the world have been reminded about the role of the judiciary have played in our recent history. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission report findings stated that lawyers and judges in Sierra Leone have failed to stand up to state tyranny. They have failed to give any meaningful content to the rule of law. Quote unquote, TRC Report Volume 2, Chapter 2, page 91, 3 paragraphs 420 to 441. Civil society is concerned that after 15 years of post-conflict peace building and the great investment in judicial reform, we expect the judiciary to correct its past.
The coalition also noted the level of public anger and frustration since the announcement of the injunction. Members of the public are advised to remain calm and not to be moved by any form of provocation. Princess Gibson, SLBC News.
The presidential candidate for the Citizens Democratic Party, Musa Tarawali, has declared his support for the SLPP's presidential candidate, Julius Mada Bio, in the coming March 27th runoff elections. Musa Tarawali made the declaration alongside hundreds of CDP members, most of whom are holding national and regional executive positions in the party. We bring you highlights of the event.
Or talk to Paddy and all the other people. I heard people tell me, I say, we don't talk to others, they are all. We don't talk to NEC, we don't talk to CCC, we don't talk to REF, we don't talk to PDP, we don't talk to them all. We don't talk to the NBC. The response and they get, they're different. Some of them fine, some of them not fine. Some of them want to be, they try. So they come, they no condition. some may say they get condition. I want for report to Unanaya Jamat. One of the one they wore, when in Dallas, they watch Spain before they call a register and say, look, I'm going back home. I like the Musa.
When you vote for retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, you don't vote for change. So media appeal. And they appeal to the people of Sierra Leone. May nobody not afraid. Me go lead the team for one campaign in the north. 2007. 2006, 2007. How come when SFP? SFP law. 2018, I don't can support SFP. SFP Finally, me, Honorable Alhaji Musa Tarawale, they declare say retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio na immediate support. Na the party they support. Na and the SLPP, the coalition they support. After March 27, Brigadier Julius Maada Bio then become president of Sierra.
President Ernest Bai Koroma has met with international observers ahead of a presidential runoff that may take place on the 27th of March. We bring you highlights.
My sister, I'm glad to see you. Thank you. I just came. All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you.
President Koroma has received eminent women of Sierra Leone 2018 Situation Room and other groups at State House. The president told the groups that the country is making progress with its electioneering process despite challenges.
President Koroma thanked the eminent women and market women for calling on him to urge the government and all Sierra Leoneans to continue to pay attention on the deteriorated situation of peace in the country. The president described it as uncalled for, which he said he believes the people of Sierra Leone do not deserve. The president recalled that the country has been conducting elections after the war, which were relatively peaceful, even though they were more difficult before the war was declared over in 1996, and this election is the fourth after the war. He said the country has enjoyed peace for a very long time, which every Sierra Leonean has worked very hard for its achievement, and the government also has worked very hard to sustain it. President Koroma therefore said that it is the responsibility of all in authority,
leaders, security agencies, the political leadership, including leadership of the Women's Situation Room Sierra Leone, to provide peace for the country. He said that he believes that the recently held elections on March 7 are the most peaceful ones, as people turned out to cast their votes despite earlier fears, but that the process was relatively peaceful all over the country. He pointed out that after the elections, challenges emerged, with concerns raised to the extent that he had to invite the National Electoral Commission, the Political Parties Registration Commission, and all other stakeholders for them to address those concerns raised. President Nkrumah informed the Eminent Women Group of assurance given by the National Electoral Commission that they will address the said concerns. He said this will enable every Sierra Leonean to go into the runoff with an open mind, knowing that the process is transparent, free and fair for the acceptance of the outcome of the election.
But this is what happened is unacceptable. We all condemn them, and whether it is APC or SLPP or anybody, the people of this country don't deserve that. And we also know that beyond here, now they remind yourself about the special court. What happened about the international court? You sit down in your little corner, you write something where they incite people. Once they establish it, you don't incite people. You take responsibility for it. You make an audio where we will identify you tomorrow, saying that you send that audio there. You go take responsibility for it. You make, say, the clever politician where they hide behind a finger, where they in a room, he send people, let me say, when I go. We go out, you go condemn. But then I instigate. Because it is happening. You know? One hand, people and they condemn, the other hand, and they instigate. Because where are all of these people coming from? Suddenly, we don't do the campaign, we don't do everything. Now they say run off. So I want to assure you that as president, we will continue to make sure say peace and quiet in the country. As president, I will want to hand over a country where we will be peaceful, where we will be united. And that all the politicians, may they not go in for cheap votes. Go out there and earn your votes. Now the violence and the threat, and at this violence you want to bring back, they made them afraid. Make some people say, I'm not going to go vote again. Because when you say I'm not going to go vote, then they don't deprive you of your civic rights. They don't deny you that. And we know for do that, for encourage every Sierra Leonean for vote. Everybody for vote. Make you vote in peace. At the end of the day, whether the people they want, I think will be the president. Whether the people they want, in another 2 weeks from now, I'm sure in this room, he will take the oath of office. Amen.
Earlier, the international consultant, Women's Situation Room, Madam Barbara Sangari, said the Eminent Women of Sierra Leone is a group of women preaching peace during elections all over the world, especially where they believe there is violence. She informed the president that as a group, they have started working since December, meeting with the police and all political parties to ensure the elections before, during and after are peaceful. A member, Madam Davis, pointed out that the country has gone through the elections and is now going to a runoff. But there is a grave concern to the women of Sierra Leone. They are not happy about which tribalism ticket political parties are using to campaign has caused a lot of violence in the country. Madam Davis added that the market women have approached them and explained the problems they encounter when there is political chaos, including the loss of their businesses. She pointed the recent incident in Bo, where the women said their souls were broken and were treated badly, which is a great loss to the women and the country as a whole. The National Coordinator Women's Situation Room Sierra Leone, Madam Awassa Mai, noted with dismay that the women of Sierra Leone are deeply concerned about the use of tribalism during campaigns, which is fueling hate speech, regionalism, arson, attacks, robbery, burning of vehicles, destruction of market stalls and wares across the country. She added that as mothers of Sierra Leone, they are calling on the President, custodian of peace and national cohesion, to ensure that peace and the well-being of Sierra Leoneans prevail. Madam Awassa Mai intimated the President that the women of Sierra Leone depend on him for peace and security of the country. They urged the President to speak up and condemn all acts of violence and to use all possible means to put a stop to all the unnecessary incidences highlighted above. Indicator of Women's Situation Group Liberia, Councillor Yvette Chesson, said she is in Sierra Leone representing the women of Africa to ensure that Sierra Leone has peace before, during and after the elections. She told the President that they are in Sierra Leone as an organization to protect the women of Sierra Leone and Africa as a whole.
In another development, the newly elected ECOWAS President, Jean-Claude Bro, has paid a courtesy call on President Ernest Bai Koroma at State House. We bring you highlights. The Leprosy and TB Control Program Manager, Dr. Linda Fori, has said the country has made great progress to manage TB cases, with treatment and testing available free in all health facilities across the country. She made the statement during a news conference to observe World TB Day on the theme, Wanted Leaders for a TB-Free World. You can make history. End TB now, at the conference hall of the Ministry of Health, UU Building. Joseph Stanley.
Infection agent that is responsible for over 1 million deaths each year.
Aim to build public awareness against tuberculosis, a disease despite being curable still remains a major public health and years ago when Dr. Scott discovered the virus that causes tuberculosis in 1882.
She revealed that each year it is estimated that 22,000 Sierra Leoneans fall sick with TB, including over 2,600 children, noting that currently there are still many TB patients who are not diagnosed. She added that this contributes to continuous transmission of the disease and increase the risk of complication for those affected. The program manager said last year the Ministry of Health and Sanitation screened over 46,000 people, of which more than 16,000 were treated for tuberculosis, and that great progress have been made to manage TB cases. Dr. Linda Fori outlined the key achievements made and thanked healthcare providers, national and international partners for their continued support towards this achievement. She said despite the gains made, the country still have a lot to do to end TB through concerted efforts. The WHO TB medical officer, Dr. Kassa Halu, described TB as one of the top 10 causes of deaths worldwide and pledged WHO and other development partners' commitment to support the government to improve diagnosis, surveillance and treatment of TB in all corners of the country. In his contribution, the National Director of the Civil Society Movement Against Tuberculosis, Abdoulaye Sisi, said their main focus is to promote the people-centered approach to ensure that people who are living with and affected with TB are at the center of TB service delivery. He said multi-drug resistant TB is on the increase, but that investment for TB is low and research and development is inadequate. SLBC News Joseph Stanley reporting.
Former APC aspirant for Member of Parliament in Constituency 093, Alhaji MS Sise, has called on the people of Ribi Chiefdom to rally around the All People's Congress in the runoff election. He made this call at a meeting held at the Chiefdom headquarter town of Bradford, where scores of supporters of the APC and sympathizers gathered to listen to the former APC aspirant. Alhaji MS Sise said in the runoff, even people from other political parties need to get on board for the benefit of Ribi Chiefdom. We'll bring you highlights.
You will always remember the third one I tell you that what this mama who has said you don't support. Britain no can hear me. If you win one man Britain go away, they will not drop development. Because Britain in here, we didn't say, but English say within the outskirts of the city. Like who went in this too. Now we will be greater city, greater Britain. I do not have a system. And that's why we say no good somewhere. Anytime we talk about president and the country we talk about. Because as somebody who can run the country like the talk about. So now the broader picture we can talk about today. We can talk about the country. How one new country go before? How one new country develop? If we let this country, I don't say we all want it to develop. This our country, not any other country. Now they want we now our own place. So get that for better, but how for developer? I will go before. I will be like other countries that they admire. Now that for being real assignment. And that's today today, now that I've been saying this meeting here. There's a people for there. Don't come. You see for there. And this is for the all the other parties for there for this meeting here. Because when they can't talk about one party, but they can't talk about the country in development one, what you get for the country go before. What you got with the can't share so then if you see for see there, they will buy them. They will buy the idea. Now that. So we don't reach a point that this election, we will get 2 people left. But they don't left. By then 16 and 2 don't left. We get Brigadier Julius Madabio for the SLPP. We get Dr. Samura Kamara for the EPC, and then 2 don't left. I'm pictures the way I buy this truck here, or when you buy this truck here, what is supposed to do? What 2 people there on the code don't appear so say they want they can't drive this truck. The first thing what you could do, and they will just watching them. Because still I'm going to do what's for. The first thing what you do, then 2 drivers are all can say the one for drive this truck here. If you want to find out from the background. So, then 2 drivers are. You don't buy this truck, you don't know. Now, they now one particular truck. Not so car, now they you say a big truck. Every duty. 2 drivers don't come, don't get license. If you want to decide, forgive one. First thing what you do, I believe, for the background of them 2 drivers. Not so? Yes. And can you then call? Is that we don't see lights. We don't see the big turn there. All now they get tarmac. They get tarmac. If you me no see chances, say Samuna Kamara go make na. If you are not see chances, say APC get plan. Well, Aja don't go by the mistake for a talk. Aja lady. Solomon no means I want to tell you that Solomon no means straight. It don't mean straight. When he said straight, Chiminaman when he's straight, you don't call him Solomon. We call him Olupi. When he said Solomon, now a description based on what I eat now, the direction we go. Now a path. In other words, what that cinema take connect to Longo, it means not divert, not go, follow the same path. It not meaning say the path straight to, but not divert. If you snap, I don't show that. He asked me if you don't show. He said, I want more Tifunk. He said, I want more Tifunk. Me, I see it now, you don't know Tifunk end. I said, go, connect to Cholongo, no Ben. That only was the way they go to Tifunk comes and only. So not straight, but follow the same path.
You're watching Waking News live on the SLBC TV with me, Shalabelu. President Ernest Bai Koroma has embarked on the first leg of his thank you and appreciation tour to the people of Sierra Leone for the peaceful way and manner they conducted themselves during the March 7th, 2018 elections. We'll bring you more.
Sir, His Excellency, President, that Gambia will be delivered.
Thank you.
It will return to APC as traditional. Thank you.
And they go for meet the people. First, for tell them thank you for the support when they support the party during the March 7th elections. To the chairman of the Gambia district, all the stakeholders of Gambia district within the party, I want to tell you plenty thank you. For me, I don't feel bad about the outcome of the results of the March 7th elections at Gambia district. That was expected. It's natural to make anybody feel that way. And we feel that way if we vote that way. Already, the APC don't control parliament. And anything about government, parliament is for determine. So that in itself will send a clear message to everybody in the country. Say APC, don't they in charge. Moving forward, we get a runoff. Runoff forward on slate for the 27th. And politics na politics. We don't sit down, we don't engage with the NGC brother them. We don't engage with the leader and presidential candidates of the NGC. You know, people in the talk out here that say that APC they fed you. APC and they fed you. They fed you, they fed you. But when you look at the results, APC give you space. Pass the party when they say then they fed you. Don't give space. You therefore understand and look at the results, make you interpret them and try to make you understand them fully. But other things they don't happen. And I want to tell you, say, me and the chairman, the presidential flag bearer of the NGC, we dey talk. And we don't talk, we don't talk, we don't talk. And at the same assurance we dey get Nakono with the C4C. So therefore, in the runoff elections, we no go make them a close elections. We want to make them such that when they beat Chibobo, you beat them. And that they be, and that will get for do.
And we can use the main points again. President Ernest Bai Koroma has met with international observers ahead of the presidential runoff. The European Union Election Observer Mission has deployed 34 short-term observers across Sierra Leone ahead of the presidential runoff election. The presidential candidate of the Sierra Leone People's Party, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, has said nothing should stop the presidential runoff from taking place on the 27th of March. And President of the Sierra Leone Indigenous Traditional Healers Union has called on the two main political parties to encourage their supporters to stay out of violence. Well, that's on this edition of Weekend News. On behalf of my news editor, Sheku Sumaila, I am Shola Bello. For more information about the programs, to send us your comments to the SLBC. Thanks for your company and have a good night.